2020, it's been an eventful year to say the least, while also simultaneously being a really uneventful year. It's a lot to think about. A lot has changed and a lot has gone a different direction than we thought it was going to be. It's the start of a new decade and just nothing went as planned. I'm currently sitting in a tier 4 lockdown, unable to go anywhere other than shopping for food. We have to wear masks out, we have to socially distance. I haven't seen some of my friends in months and months and months, and I thought it would be a good idea to kind of go through things that have happened this year and kind of say how grateful I am for them, and I would have done this anyway, but considering how this year has gone, it seems a lot more interesting in kind of a time capsule-y kind of way that I could look back at this one day and look back on this year and just reflect on it. So let's talk about the things I did this year. I finished university with a 2-1 in film production. At the start of the year we had our final short film all planned and ready to go, and 2 weeks before filming everything went down and we couldn't film for months and months and months, and we finally made our short film Lucid, and I'm happier with it than I ever thought I would be, and I'm actually in a way grateful that it took so long to film and that we could film it in such a unique way. And you know, the whole thing we did socially distanced, and obviously there's a few scenes that aren't, but the actors were so good about it and they all got tested, and it was just a really positive experience. Considering short films I've made before, I've not had the best time making them. It was really, really refreshing to work with people that genuinely cared for this film. In October, I got a job in a clothing store, and that was a low point this year for sure. It's not what I wanted to do, and I was miserable going to work every day, and it's one of those things, isn't it, to earn money and get by in this world, you have to do things you hate, and so I did it. And there were fun days, but there were days where I was just emotionally exhausted, and everybody I knew who I spoke to on a regular basis, they said that I just wasn't being me, and that they'd seen me happier, and that I worked there a month before I found something better. I'm so grateful for my work coach at the job centre for taking the time to send me a link to a job that he knew that I would be perfect for. And so I applied and I got it. Finally, I get to work in a place where I can edit and make videos, and we're building a studio, and it's just the most fun thing that's happened to me this year. And I'm so glad that I got to do this opportunity, even though it might only be for 6 months, it could be longer. I haven't felt this happy in a long time, and that's saying something. My whole way through university, my whole way through this summer, something was missing in my life. And I know it's because I wasn't where I was hoping I would be. University, of course, I need it to get by, and my degree, I'm so proud of me that I've got it, but actually working in the media industry, it's more than I could ever imagine. I'm working for such a small business and helping somebody launch this whole studio. It's been so rewarding and amazing, and I never want it to end, but who knows. Despite all of the lockdown and COVID and that fear, there's still some fun things that I managed to do this year. One of them was a great socially distanced camp out with my friends on one of their birthdays, and it was just so great to kind of forget about the world for just 5 minutes. And yes, we were all sat far apart from each other and it felt really weird, but it was just good to kind of take a step back and experience a good time with the people that you love and you care about, and just for a moment escape the craziness of the world and just chill out. This year I decided I wanted to get into more photography. Did a fun photo shoot with my friend, socially distanced obviously, in a field. That was really fun, and I'm so proud of how all of the photos came out, and it's something I would love to pursue more of in the future. Me and my friends online, we created our own custom Cards Against Humanity game that was just about us, and it was so fun to kind of mess around with my friends and video chat them and laugh about all of these crazy things we know about each other and all of these crazy things we've said to each other. And it's when these people have made my year, honestly. Without my Discord group, I don't know how I would cope. This year has felt so lonely in a way, but having them around to talk to and knowing that I can talk to them whenever, at any time of day, because they're all over the world, it's just amazing to have that support network. And if you guys are watching, I love you and you're crazy, and I couldn't imagine my life without any of you in it. Also this year, my heart broke. It really did. My dog, Frizzly, who I've had since I was like 5 years old, he passed away, and that dog was my best friend, and I will never love a dog like I loved him. And it's still affecting me to this day because I was that attached to him. But it just got to the point where it wasn't healthy for him to keep on going, and so we did the right thing and we let him go. And me and my brother used to say that that he came from Doggy Planet, and that that he was the prince, and he'd come to us to learn how to be a great dog. And so I like to think of it like that he just went back home. He went to be the king of Doggy Planet. After 15 years of being with us, closer to 16 actually, he decided that he was ready to go back. And I hope that he is being pampered and ruling his planet, because it's what he deserves. Speaking of dogs, this year we got a puppy. His name's Dexter, and he is a pain in the ass, but I love that dog, and I'm so glad that he found a home in our family because he fits us so perfectly. And he's just so mischievous, and you can just see it in his eyes that all he wants to do is pick everything up and bite you and just play all the time. And some days I, in my head, think that he is reincarnated of Frizzly because they have so much random things in common, and part of me hopes that he is, and that's what he's came and found us for, to keep the legacy alive of Frizzly. But at the same time, he's just his own dog, and he's such a great addition to our family, and I'm so happy that we have him. There was also a lot of things that I was meant to do this year. Well, I say a lot. There was 2 main things that I was meant to do this year that I couldn't do because of COVID. One of them being going to see the Frock Destroyers in a pantomime. They are, if anyone doesn't know, they are 3 drag queens: Davina De Campo, Bag of Chips, and Blue Hydrangea. They were on Drag Race UK, and they are my absolute favourite drag queens from that series, and me and Alice were going to go see them in a pantomime, and we were so excited. But of course, COVID cancelled it, and sadly it's not going to go ahead and be rescheduled, so that's quite sad. I really wish that I could have seen them, but hopefully something else comes up that I can go see them in. Another big thing that I was meant to do that I'm really upset that I couldn't do was I was meant to see My Chemical Romance in concert for the first time ever. And we've all waited years for them to come back, and when they announced they were coming back, we were all so excited, and we bought our tickets. We tried 3 separate occasions to buy them, and finally on the last try we got them. And then it got cancelled. It was meant to be in June, and we were all ready for it, so excited. But luckily it's been rescheduled, and I hope that we can get the vaccine and start going back to normal before next summer so that I can actually go see my favourite band, because this is one of the bands that I have wanted to see for so long, and because they'd only just got back together I hadn't had a chance to. So those were the two main things that I really was looking forward to this year that I just couldn't do. But hopefully next year things start to pick up again and people start listening to guidelines and start wearing their masks and people get the vaccine so that life can start going back to normal and we can start going and doing things like this again. I would really like it if we could, as a society and a human race, do that. Thank you. This is going to be my top favourites of the year, and all of these things, they're not things that came out this year necessarily, but they are things that I loved experiencing this year. So things I might have just discovered that could be 10 years old, but having heard them for the first time, I have fallen in love with them. Or TV shows that have come out this year, or films that came out last year that I've seen this year. Things like that, because obviously this year's been crazy for most industries, and things like films and things like that have taken a real slowdown this year. So I thought we could just kind of look at the things that I've discovered and that I've enjoyed listening to this year specifically. So I want to start with music. According to Spotify, my most listened to song of the year is Na 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 by MCR.
The future is bulletproof, the aftermath is secondary. It's time to do it now and do it loud. Killjoys, make some noise.
Yeah, Spotify said that that's the song I've listened to most, which does not surprise me. So I'm going to try and stay away from MCR things because that's a given when it's me. So I started listening to music quite a lot this year. I made a new friend who is a musician, and he makes me listen to songs that I've never listened to before. So this year I discovered a love for Blink-182 that I never really had before. I've discovered that I really like The Killers, and yesterday in fact I discovered that I like Block Party. There's also some new artists I've discovered this year. I really enjoyed Kid Crow, the album by Conan Gray, songs like Affluenza and Heaven.
Man, and Daddy's got a new mansion to keep.
They've become like most played songs. Shout out to Bert and his band Missile Society, who their song Find You, go listen to it, it's great. There have some promo, and also this year my love for Taylor Swift has carried on growing. I also have started listening to a musician called Corpse who does like kind of rap, but it's like dark, depressing rap, with a slight like emo kind of feel to it. I kind of regressed back into my pop punk phase. I went through a lot of time where I just didn't really listen to music that much, but the end of this year specifically I've got back into like Pierce the Veil and Sleeping with Sirens and Good Charlotte and all of those kind of bands, and I really enjoy being back there. I did start watching quite a lot of films this year. My friend gave me a list that had like 1,000 films on it that were must-watch films, and I watched quite a few of them. I've really enjoyed this year. I watched The Truman Show for the first time, and that's become one of my favourite films. When Harry Met Sally, that was really good, unexpectedly. So yeah, I basically watched a lot of films that I never would have watched before. I kind of stopped with the list, but I'm in 2021 going to get back into it. Because there's a lot of good films on there that I've never seen, and as somebody with a film degree I should start watching a lot of these films. The topic of films, I'll tell you a film that I did not enjoy this year, and that was The Prom on Netflix. I thought it was awful, and James Corden's performance made it feel like it was mocking the LGBT community, and I really didn't like that. So it wasn't just that, the film was just shockingly bad, but mainly that's the one that stands out on the top of my head. Side note, please stop casting James Corden in films, thank you. Here's my top TV of the year. I watched The Crown for the first time, and as somebody that's not really into the royal family, I was very invested in this show. I binge watched it all in a week, and it has become one of my favourite shows, and I find that horrifying. I also recently watched The Queen's Gambit, which I love limited series. I think that it's a great kind of way to tell a story because you don't need to have 6 seasons of a show. You can make an 8-episode series and it'd be amazing and not need any more, and people will still love it and enjoy it. And I really thought that was great, especially the kind of concept of the Queen's Gambit. I know nothing about chess, but I was like encapsulated by it the whole time. My absolute favourite show of the year, one that I highly recommend you watch, was Julian the Phantom. I just thought the story was wonderful. My top video games of the year, because I am an epic gamer girl, clearly. First one being, we all see this coming from a mile away, Animal Crossing. Especially at the beginning of the year, that game has really gotten me through lockdown. Kind of, it's sad, but the idea of having fictional kind of villagers that you can talk to and that care about you is quite a nice kind of sentiment. Also this year, I don't think the game came out this year, but I played The Outer Worlds and I really enjoyed that. It's like Fallout in space, basically. If you don't know me, Fallout 4 and the Fallout franchise are like my favourite game series, but they've gone a lot downhill for Fallout 76. And it was really refreshing to play a game that is pretty much the same game but in space and made a lot better. And finally, my favourite game of the year, Spider-Man Miles Morales, which I love. Spider-Man PS4 game, it was like one of my favourite games of all time, and it was just so nice to play a different character as Spider-Man, you know, instead of being Peter Parker, being Miles is so fun. He has all these cool abilities, and I admit the story to me wasn't as captivating as the first game, but it was still an interesting game to play. It was still really fun to play, and I'm actively trying to get all the achievements like I did on the first one. To talk a little bit about my favourite YouTubers, this year I kind of swayed away from YouTube for a while, and I've finally come back a little bit. Of course, I have my usual favourites, Achievement Hunter, Dan and Phil, Sophia Nygaard, Simply Nailogical, but this year I discovered a lot of new kind of YouTubers and people that stream on Twitch, and some of those are Corpse Husband, who I mentioned his music previously, but he also plays Among Us on stream with Valkyrie and Saikuno, who are 2 of my other favourite YouTube/streamers of the year. Also this year I discovered that I really like watching people make soap, so shout out to Royalty Soaps for that one. Speaking of YouTubers, this year was a little bit eventful for me in the respect of my favourite YouTubers. As you can probably guess who it is. This year I got a lot of interaction with these 2 actually. One of them was that I was tweeted by Dan, which I've waited 10 years to get any interaction from that man. And I've had 2 interactions with Phil this year. He was live streaming on an app called Stereo, and on 2 separate occasions I was doing stereos with friends, and both times he came into our stereo and sent us voice messages. Insert voice messages now.
Crossword, and also Dan Riffick just wanted to say ho ho hello, and I hope the rest of your year is merry and bright. Dan Riffick and Maggie, I hope you're doing well, sending you good thoughts, feelings and other good emotions.
And yeah, that was so exciting for me. Like, me and my friends lost it each time. And now everybody thinks I'm weird because I'm gushing about Dan and Phil, which is something I do on the daily if you know me. So, 2021. What am I hoping for? What am I expecting? Well, for the first few months, obviously, much of the same as this year. Waiting and hoping that things change. I'm excited to get my vaccine, whenever that may be. I'm excited to continue my job and hope and pray that it lasts longer than the 6-month contract. I hope I get to make more videos. I hope I'm more confident in making videos. Making this video was a lot for me. I'm not very good at talking in front of the camera, but here we are. And yeah, I hope that my Animal Crossing island finally gets finished, because for literally 8 months it's been me building things and then knocking it down and then building things and knocking it down, so hopefully we get that fixed. I hope that I can finally buy Cyberpunk 2077 if it's fixed, because I'm not playing it on PS4 if it's broken, because that game's expensive. I hope I can go see My Chemical Romance in concert finally. I hope that it's a year of great TV and film. It's going to be an interesting year for the film industry and an interesting year for cinemas. We already lost Cineworld this year. The only cinema near me is the local independent one, and I hope that they can survive because, you know, the industry, it needs help, and the more of us that survive in it, the better. I hope that I finally get to meet some of my internet friends when things hopefully clear up. I would love to kind of travel around and meet a few of them, especially Chris and Leo. If you ever see this, I love you guys so much and thank you for making this year so great for me. We've been in like constant chats and me and Chris have been playing Fortnite and I hope that continues. I think that's it really. Pour one out for 2020 and I'll see you in 2021. So that's the end of my video, and thank you 2020 for being an interesting year, and I'll see you all in 2021.